Let me just start by saying that this message is only going to find those that it is intended for, okay? It is only going to find those that it's intended for, and it will find you in God's divine timing, all right? Listen, the last few days have been a complete handful. They have been a handful. In fact, for those of you guys that can resonate, I want you to drop a one in the comments to let me know that you too have been feeling this energy, okay? A lot of it is correlating to the full moon that will be occurring tomorrow. We are in the midst of a full moon in Scorpio, okay? Friday, May 1st. And on the eve of this full moon, many of you guys, if you have not already, you are feeling it, okay? I'm gonna just talk a little bit about myself so that you know that this is not a journey that you're on by yourself. This is not feelings that you're having to yourself, okay? This is something that we are all, especially those in the spiritual walk, we are all sort of working through, okay? So over the last couple days, it's been intense, all right? Scorpio is intense as fuck, okay? If you thought that Scorpio, like other full moons, was going to come in and you do a little bit of releasing and you do a bit of purging, and you let go of some things that you felt comfortable with letting go of, and everything will be great. And if something may not be working well, you detach yourself, and, if it changes shape, then you can kind of go back to it. Well, Scorpio, nah, not so much, okay? Scorpio's more like get over here energy, okay? It's not calm, it's not polite, it's very much deep, okay? It's deep, it's intense, and it doesn't give a fuck what the aftermath looks like as long as what's not supposed to be there is no longer there, okay? Scorpio finds itself moving through shadows, okay? It is not a surface level recovery space. It is about going deep and exposing what is hiding out in your shadows, what you may be pressing down in hopes that perhaps it never comes back up. That is the power of a Scorpio full moon, all right? Now let me just say this. For Scorpio placements, especially those of you guys that have your top 3 in Scorpio, or even if you have planetary archetypes in Scorpio, you're going to feel this energy. I have Uranus in Scorpio in my 8th house, okay? So where I typically disrupt shit, where I typically experience grief, loss, death, literal or otherwise, that is where Scorpio falls in my chart. So I have never truly had an issue with detaching. I've never truly had issues with loss, okay? In fact, I tend to lean into those things. But that's not to be said about everyone. And it is also not to be said that it makes it any easier, okay? Loss is loss, right? But this period, for many of us, is going to be one of the most transformative. I'm also an Aquarius stellium. I'm also a Libra stellium. So if it ain't right, okay, if it ain't fair, if it ain't just, if it ain't equal, it ain't happening. My spirit team is not going to allow it to happen. And that is the truth for many of you. So let me talk to you guys in this collective, because there is something that you need to know. Your spirit team wants you to be very well made aware of. And thank you, spirit guides. Thank you to the divine. Thank you to the archangels who are covering and protecting us as I channel this message. Okay? You are the blueprint. You are the eccentric prototype. Okay? You are the prototype. And as many people love you for this mysticism, this sort of star power that you hold, this extraordinary extraordinariness that you emanate, just as many people don't like it, okay? And for a very long time, you have focused your attention on the people that don't like what it is that you bring into this universe, all right? And as a result, for many of you guys, you started out as shapeshifters. Because, see, when people talk about shapeshifting, they think about it in terms of mystical definitions. They don't think about it in terms of what it means spiritually. And so there's a lot that is missed. But you were a shapeshifter. And you would go into rooms and you would mimic the energies. You would shift yourself to get along, to cope, to appease, to often people please, because your identity was transformative enough where it was no big deal for you to do so. But what came with that was a loss of identity for you, because if you shapeshift enough, you start to come away from home base a little too much, and you start to forget what you, in essence, are truly comprised of. You will always and have always been a spiritual being in this human experience, and let us not ever forget that, okay? I'm seeing threes right now, okay? 300, all right, 333. But you've gone through a lot of loss, a lot of heartache, a lot of grief, a lot of disappointment. But what the beauty in all of that has compelled you to do is to learn how to detach yourself instead of blending in and shape-shifting at every turn. You have learned how to alchemize that energy to make it work for you. All right. And as a result, no longer are you in people-pleasing mode. No longer are you privy, okay, or excuse me, not privy to manipulation tactics, to gaslighting, okay, to listening to external voices when you have your own internal compass that speaks loudly. You are no longer allowing folks, okay, to be narcissistic in their ways around you. All right. You learn to detach, you learn to pivot, and you learn to move forward. And in those spaces, at every turn, you have become a master transmuter of energy. Okay? A spiritual master transmuter of energy. You make it work for you. And what's so amazing about you is that not only do you transmute energy to your favor, okay, but you also somehow learn to do it without compromising yourself. So your aura is still intact, okay? You are still magnetic AF. You are still attractive in every way, shape, or form. And people still want to know what it is about you that is so unique. But it is those very things, okay? And you have learned that you don't stay in rooms where you're no longer welcome, okay? You don't stay in spaces and with people who show you no loyalty, who show you no reciprocation, who do not understand that you are not solely in this world to be a giver to them, but you are also here to receive, and receive without shame or embarrassment, okay? Let's just channel this. We're not gonna even use no cards for this, because you don't need a hook. You don't need nobody to give you an introduction. You are the introduction that the world needs, okay? And you are not to become anyone else just to simply survive. You have more to offer this world than just you surviving or just a lack mindset. You are the prototype. And you become better as a result of the work that you do on yourself. So give yourself a round of fucking applause. Because no matter how hard this period is during this full moon, you gonna make it. I love you guys.